Thank you. And
Thank you.
now we move on to our next speakers. We have Bindu Subramaniam and Ambi Subramaniam here. They are the musicians who've been performing on stage since they were children. Together, they run the Subramaniam Academy of Performing Arts. It's called SAPA, which nurtures the next generation of performing musicians. They co-founded SAPA in schools program that impacts almost 30,000 students every year and has been credited with building an ecosystem for music education from the scratch. Singer-songwriter Bindu and violinist Ambi play as a part of two bands they formed, Global Fusion Creative Collective Subramania and the Carnatic Fusion Group, the Tair Sadam, formed with the Carnatic fusion artist Mahesh Raghavan and percussionist Akshay Anand Padmanabhan. The co-host the SAPA show on Shankara TV, which brings in guest artists from across the globe. They are both young delegates at the United Nations for Sri Chinmaya Peace Meditation Group. So we welcome you both. Over to you now.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
It's really a pleasure to be on this panel. There's so many esteemed people here, and it's really interesting to hear the different perspectives that people have on art, culture, music. Obviously, our perspective, the area that we're coming from is both as performers, but also as music educators, because taking from what Dr. Vidya says, we feel that music education, and indeed all art education, is critical. I think given the situation that we're facing right now, a lot of us are sort of adjusting to a new normal. And we need to be aware that this is not just a temporary pause in our lives. It's not going to be 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now and everything just goes back to the way that it was. We need to be prepared that things are not going to go back to exactly the way they were and that there is going to be an entirely new normal. And the thing is, as human beings, we tend to crave certainty. We want to know what things are going to be like. And when we have this bit of uncertainty, it causes a disquiet in us. And what we're seeing is a lot of this is happening in kids as well, because children are being forced to sit at home. They ended schools early. They don't know what's going on. Now suddenly they have to move their entire lives online. So what we're looking at is the importance of music and art interventions for children in these situations, now more than ever. If you look at their social emotional learning, if you look at holistic development, if you look at how we create growth mindsets, we really, really need to make sure that kids at this time have access to high quality music education. Now, even as performers, it's been a bit of a, I won't say challenge, but it's been a bit of an adjustment for us, because if you were to look at a regular rehearsal where you'd go and meet other musicians, you can't do that anymore online because there is a delay, there's a lag, and there's a completely different way that we're expected to express ourselves as artists.
Yeah, and I think it's very important also at this time to look at the online space as different from the live space. So especially when we're trying to create content for social media or YouTube or any of these platforms, if we're doing a Facebook Live or a Zoom Live, it's important to realize that we cannot really recreate the same setting of a concert, and that's okay. But I think it's important to see how we can make it different and how we can make it apt for the setting that it's in.
Yeah, and so what we realized, I think, in the middle of March was that we couldn't be doing classes in person anymore. So literally overnight, in the span of one day, we had to bring 10 centers online. And we through our centers, work with children who are as young as 1 year and 10 months. Now, how do you bring an under 2-year-old online to learn music in a meaningful way? It's difficult. And we've used that time also to see how we can bring our 30,000 kids online. We're working with kids in private schools, but we're also working with kids in government schools. And when you look at kids in government schools, they don't have access to a device of their own. They don't have access to computers. At max, they have probably one cell phone that's shared with the whole family. And if the parents have to go out to work, that goes with them. So how do we create content that can help children of all different stratas and categories? And how do we create that sense of community, which is so integral for arts education in person? How do we create that sense of community online? So a lot of what we've been doing is trying to see how children are reacting and how they're learning. I think I have to jump in and pause myself and say that one thing that I'm really grateful for right now is the response that we've been seeing from schools, because schools have obviously been under a lot of pressure themselves. How to figure out how to bring math education online, to figure out how to bring language online. And it would have been really easy for a lot of them to say, okay, let's just focus on the stuff that's important. But what we've seen is that almost all of our school partners have sent out circulars, sent out notices saying, you know what, it is really important that this time we not only focus on curricular subjects, but we also continue to do music, we also continue to do yoga, we also continue to do other things which are giving the children additional dimensions.
I think at this point in time is probably as, or if not more important than all of the other things that they're also learning, because music and art and culture is a way to kind of bring people together. It is a small way where we can kind of bring in the community aspect, especially when you have kids who are sitting isolated at home. And mental health is also something that's very, very important to kind of think about when you have all of these kids who have never been isolated this long in their entire lives and don't know how to deal with it.
And so for us, yeah, a lot of the work that we are doing is using music as a tool for social emotional learning, using music as a tool for holistic development, how to develop the growth mindset through music, in addition to making sure that they are learning music from India and around the world. And I agree with Dr. Vidya about the importance of the National Education Policy Report. We were fortunate to consult on that report as an organization, as SAPA, to give them inputs on what art, culture, music education should look like, and we're really grateful that they've taken a lot of those things. But if you look at the fact that the report came out a year ago and now we don't know what schools look like today, it's really important to keep adapting, to keep this mindset of, okay, what is it that we actually want to communicate? What is music and art used for? Is it that we want all our kids to be great singers? No, that's not what we're looking for. Is it that we want children to be able to express themselves positively? Is it that we want them to see themselves as individual beings? Does it matter if in a class of 30, about 10 of them are sort of out of pitch? I don't think so. I think we should aim for each of us to be our best artistic selves, but we should also look at how art fosters community and how art fosters the creation of our best self. Whether you're going to be a performer or not, you should have access to music, culture, art, dance, education, so that you can find a place inside yourself to stay positive. And you can use that to create your own sense of community, and you can use that to build a better society around you.
Thank you very much, Ambi and Bindu. Very relevant. And I'm happy that you're doing so much work at the school space. Yes, it does impact holistically and also in building confidence, creativity, and maintaining that balance in a student. As you said, it really doesn't matter if 10 students are out of note. That's not what matters. It's about them enjoying the whole, the enjoying that the time when others are singing, or maybe they are attempting to sing. It helps. It helps a lot in the overall personality development of a student. And yes, we have to catch them young. We need to go at grade nursery to grade 3 to ensure that it starts at that age and then progress slowly into building. Now, my daughter sings very well, and as you're speaking to me, she's written to me a message that, Mama, I want to know about their academy and I would like to join. She's a lost kid. She doesn't know. Yeah, they're all in the live streaming of this conference that's happening. So she's just written me a message that, Mama, I want to join SAPA. Can you please go off stage and help me out with it? So little perks of being a moderator here. Well, thank you so much, and really inspiring work you're doing at the moment. And I think, as you said, the new education policy, things could be streamlined and brought to mainstream curriculum as well. Let's hope for the best.